What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins and what their next move may be. I discussed it a little bit in my last trade rumors video, and you guys know that I'm going to be talking about the NHL offseason quite a lot, although it hasn't even got here yet. The playoffs are still on, and they're pretty good. I've seen some people complaining about the playoffs, but I think they've been really good with some really good upsets as well. Even my Toronto Maple Leafs being out, I mean, I can't be that angry because the playoff hockey is still really good. But we're going to be talking about the offseason quite a lot on this channel. And again, if you're used to this channel, you would know that this isn't my background. If you're new, I've got lots of NHL merchandise that's actually put in the background of my videos. But currently there's some stuff going on down there, and I'm really working on a more professional set that's going to be behind me. So don't worry, this isn't the final place where all my videos will be made. You guys are going to see an absolutely unreal background of my videos very soon. But we're going to be talking about Pittsburgh, and I was listening to the 31 Thoughts podcast and reading up a little bit because there's a write-up, and then there's also an audio version that Elliotte Friedman and Jeff Marek are a part of. Now, we know Elliotte Friedman is one of the best in the business when it comes to knowing inside information and knowing what may be going on behind closed doors. And right now, Jim Rutherford and the Pittsburgh Penguins are making a lot of waves. So basically what Elliotte Friedman was talking about, and you guys can listen to this on the podcast. I never make stuff up on this channel. I listen, I read, I make sure I'm understanding what I'm hearing, and then I give the news, especially from really reliable sources. And you guys can hear this on the 31 Thoughts podcast, the May 2nd edition, I believe it was. Elliotte Friedman, Jeff Marek on Sportsnet.ca. But he was talking about the fact that Pittsburgh doesn't believe that there needs to be some sort of big rebuild. And as long as that Sidney Crosby is in the lineup, teams like Pittsburgh and Washington, because, you know, Ovechkin and Crosby, whatever, they're never going to rebuild because they have those guys in the lineup. Their window is always open. They have guys that are generational, once-in-a-lifetime type of talents, and there's no reason to completely tear down a team. But there have been some rumors regarding big names on the Pittsburgh Penguins. For starters, we know that according to Elliotte Friedman, Phil Kessel is very much likely to get traded. Now, he's been in rumors for the past couple years, and let's just take a quick look. I've got my two computer screens. Looking at his numbers here, last season, Phil Kessel, again, was a fantastic hockey player. People are somewhat against him, I guess, in the hockey world, and a lot of Leaf fans for some reason, even though he led the team in scoring for like 8 or 9 years and didn't miss a game basically the entirety of his time with Toronto. He had 82 points last year, 27 goals, 55 assists, and he was a minus 19, but there were some big names on Pittsburgh that were minus players, and it happens to the best of them. But he had 90 points last year. He's a two-time Stanley Cup champion, lots of playoff experience. He only had 2 points in 4 games as they got swept by the New York Islanders, who looked very good in the playoffs, although they're down 3-0 to Carolina at the time I'm recording this video, which obviously isn't good for them, but they looked real good in round 1, and I actually had them winning the Stanley Cup, so we'll have to see what happens. In my second round bracket, that's what I had, but Phil Kessel is a very talented player. Like I said, 90 points last year. He's had multiple seasons where he's had 30 goals, and he's a guy that can score 30 goals depending on who you play him with, but he's fast, he's got a really good shot, one of the best, if not the best snapshot in the entire league. And he's a guy that a lot of teams are going to be looking for. Currently, right now, he has a modified no-trade clause. He submits an 8-team trade list, so I'm sure a lot of teams will be interested, but I'm also sure that Pittsburgh would work with him on a trade. His current cap hit is $6.8 million, and that contract runs through to the 2021-22 season. So I'm guessing that a lot of teams will be interested in a forward like that because Kessel can very well get you 80 to 90 points depending on who he plays with, but he's almost a guarantee to get you 70 points. Now, the next guy that's been involved in trade rumors regarding the Pittsburgh Penguins is Kris Letang. Now, this is a guy that I really didn't think Pittsburgh would be willing to get rid of. Rutherford basically talked about him in his end-of-the-season press conference, saying that he took too much heat for the Penguins' losses and that he's a fantastic defenseman. I'm somebody who agrees. Letang's on a pretty decent contract as well. If we look over there, right now he's got a modified no-trade clause as well, but it's 18 teams that he can be traded to, so it's very open. And he's at a 7.25 salary cap. His AAV is 7.25, and his also runs through to the 2021-22 season. So he's a right-handed shot, obviously a defenseman, and he can put up points. Last year he had 56 points in 65 games, and he had 1 assist in 4 playoff games. But Letang has also done very well in the playoffs. He has 80 points. He's a +7 in the playoffs, and he's a guy that a lot of teams would be looking for. He puts up nearly 50 points every single season, and sometimes much more than that. And I'm guaranteeing you right now that Pittsburgh probably doesn't want to get rid of him. But if there's some turnover and they can get younger and maybe acquire multiple pieces, Letang might be a guy that will go. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but it is a very good chance that Letang could go. And there's been a lot of talks about it. And the last person is Evgeny Malkin. Now, Malkin has a pretty high salary cap. I think it's like his AAV is like 9.5. We'll take a look here. Yeah, 9.5 as well going through to the 2021-22 season. Now, Elliot Friedman brought up the fact that he thinks that Evgeny Malkin might be in these trade rumors to maybe rattle his cage a little bit, maybe wake him up. I don't know if that's the case. And Elliot Friedman also brought up the fact that there are some GMs out there that believe that Pittsburgh might actually be having him in some trade discussions. Now, if we look at his contract, he has a no-move clause, so they'd have to talk to him to see if he'd waive it. And Elliot Friedman thinks that Malkin right now is kind of weighing his options, seeing that if he's going to actually make that move, if he is going to waive his no-move clause to be traded. I still am on the side that thinks Malkin is not going to be traded. Last year, he had 72 points in 68 games. He was a -25, but again, plus-minus is kind of an overrated stat. That's something I had to learn. In the playoffs, he has 168 points in 162 games, so over a point per game in the playoffs. He had 3 points in 4 games in this year's playoffs and was a -1, but again, plus-minus, we're not going to talk too much about it. But I don't think Pittsburgh wants to trade Malkin. They definitely don't want to trade Crosby. I don't think those two guys will ever move. And again, that's kind of a bold statement. And I don't really believe that they would want to move a guy like Letang either. So this is really interesting. If there is a guy that's going to get moved, it's probably Phil Kessel, and maybe they'll explore the trade market for Letang, but the return would have to be pretty hefty, and I'm not too sure that Pittsburgh really wants to just give up guys for the sake of hopefully getting better and hopefully getting younger with the trades that they make. But if you get back really good players, or there was even some random talk about them in the 31 Thoughts podcast about them going after another big name, swapping big names like a Trouba or a PK Subban, that's a possibility. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. There's more videos that I'm going to make regarding those trades, so make sure you stick around, subscribe to the channel. We'll have to keep looking into the Pittsburgh Penguins and their situation. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.